going on there, guys? We're back with another one, and today we got the Memphis Grizzlies GM and Executive VP of Basketball Operations, Zach Kleiman, speaking on Ja Morant and this latest incident. And it took them a while to speak on it, but after last night's draft, they spoke on, their picks, the Marcus Smart acquisition, and many other things. But he expressed his disappointment. He said the punishment from the league is fair, and that, I think when you do this to the organizations, because you saw these exit meetings, when you seem like you understand where you went wrong, and then you come back and pretty much sling mud in their face less than 2 months later, they feel some sort of way about it. And if you listen to what he says in this, he talks about clear steps and things that needs to be done going forward. And you could tell how they building the roster. Bringing in Marcus Smart, they're bringing in some different voices that are loud and authoritative in the locker room to try to start shifting this culture. So we're going to listen to what he said, and I'll be back with more commentary.
Obviously, it's draft night. There was a trade reported yesterday, but I wanted to start with Ja because this is the first time someone from the organization has spoken since that happened. And at your closing media session at the end of April after the playoffs, you used the word lockstep to describe the relationship between Ja and the franchise in terms of both equally recognizing how serious the issue was after what happened in Denver. Given that and the subsequent incident, how has that impacted the relationship between Ja and the team?
Yeah, I mean, we're certainly, disappointed with the behavior that transpired, as we got into the offseason. I think the discipline, from the NBA, I think it was appropriate. I think the thing to focus on, at this point, I think is, and there's ongoing discussion, now with the league, the union, and Ja's representatives is, what's Ja, going to commit to, going forward? What are the, what are the steps that he's prepared to take, for the NBA to, to grant the ability to rejoin the team after, serving the suspension. I think there's a lot of healthy dialogue there. I think everyone, I think we did acknowledge early on that this was going to be, ongoing, and Ja wasn't, just going to become the best version of himself, overnight. I think there's many, really serious steps he needs to continue to take. There's no, strain in the relationship, but we have, high, expectations of, the standard that Ja's going to have to hold himself to.
What was the communication with Ja like in the immediate aftermath of that last incident? What's the communication been with him since then? And can you clarify a little bit? The NBA's statement was that he was suspended from quote unquote public team activities. Can you clarify a little bit what that means in terms of his availability with practice and with facilities and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, on the first piece, I'll just say we're in, communication with Ja. The league's in communication with Ja. I think everyone's been, very transparent about what needs to be done, from here, the steps that are going to have to be taken. As to, once Ja's, reintegrated into the team environment, he's at the very least going to be allowed to participate in individual work, conditioning, medical. I think there's further dialogue as to, other things that he potentially could be involved in. Obviously, he's not going to be playing for 25 games.
So I remember people were getting on Stephen A. Smith for this clip that I'm about to play, but as you're about to see, the GM for the Memphis Grizzlies said the same thing. Check it out.
Nobody believes you, bro. Nobody believes you.
Zach, since knowing the 25-game suspension for Ja Morant coming down last week, how much of that played into what transpired tonight with what just the last 48 hours with the trade and drafting position?
Yeah, I mean, I would say we really are focused on how are we building a team that's going to be, the best that it can be in the context of playoff basketball. And, we've been pursuing, things to that effect well before, this offseason. So, certainly something where we want to give, the group and the locker room every chance to, elevate their approach. But I don't think it's any different than the approach we otherwise would have taken.
Have you gotten the sense that there's been more action from Ja since this second incident?
I think he's taken some steps, but at this point, honestly, it doesn't matter until he follows through on it. Couldn't care less, about words. Ja has to prove it. He's really going to have to. It's easy to say the right things. I think there have been instances in the past where Ja has shown recognition and remorse, with respect to, what was really a problematic pattern of behavior where there were, things that we would, challenge him on, that we would call out, and he, it was 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and there's no room for steps back, at this point. Ja needs to, he has the opportunity to come back from this. Ja has every opportunity, and everyone wants him to be successful, believes in him to be successful, is going to continue to give him the tools, the structure to be successful. It's on Ja. Yeah, Ja's thrilled to be in Memphis. There have been plenty of, instances where we've sat Ja down and gave him feedback that he wasn't thrilled about, but that doesn't mean, I think Ja wants to be held accountable. I think in the moment, at times, sometimes he's got to take a step back and learn from it, and I think he has made progress there. I don't want to lose, sight of that, but, at this point, he's going to have to show that he can sustain that. We're going to continue to pour into him. We're going to continue to, hold him to account for, everything that he's, doing day to day. It's on him to follow through, but he's going to have, every opportunity to do so.
So, guys, I just wanted to share those clips because you can hear the tone of the organization changing. At first, when we had our first incidents, it was like, we'll be standing by him. He's a young player. He makes mistakes, but he'll get it together. To now, he's got to show us. And I remember Stephen A. Smith saying that the other day, and people were mad at him for saying what he said, but I knew it was at that point because you could hear even Taylor Jenkins in some of the last incident. He was a little annoyed by the questions, but he was staying professional about it. And they're still staying professional, but you could tell they not trying to mince their words anymore because they, based off bringing Marcus Smart in and the way that they're trying to retool this roster, you could tell Ja's still in their plans, but they could see a future where he may not be in it one day if this type of behavior persists. And I've also found it interesting that they said they sat him down before and they gave him feedback about things he wasn't too thrilled about. And so obviously there's been some tug there at times, and I'm guessing he's referring to things that happened before it got all the way out into the media about his crowd specifically, because some of this stuff's been going on courtside at games and different, you got your season ticket holders and they sitting right down low with these people. You want to make sure your season ticket holders have the best experience. So, you got that dynamic there, and they seem thrilled by his basketball ability, and they said he wants to be better, but at this point he has to show them, so words don't mean anything anymore. And that's what happens. So, a lot of times when you do something, you appear contrite, and then the same type of, or the same category of behavior is exhibited again in a short amount of time. This is what happens. People don't believe you no more. You have to show them. And unfortunately, this has cost him $50 million so far. So if he cares anything about his career going forward, and don't even mention the endorsements it may cost. Nike isn't standing on anything right now because his shoes is moving. But as far as someone like Powerade and all them, we're going to see what they do, because he was about to have this and much more endorsements. But right now he hamstringed himself by being involved with these incidents that were easily controllable. Now, I think the people around him have to do better. And when I say the people around him, he needs to cut some of the friends off. But I'm just talking about from the family standpoint. Don't be calling him to no shoe store to handle no situation. It seems like the thing in his backyard was a nice gesture to do with the high school kids, but don't get caught up with outside influences and everything. And when you have something like that, have all the proper pieces in place. Don't try to conduct that yourself no more. I mean, I could see maybe the situation went awry with that, and I could see a young, teenager testing you the wrong way. That's not too hard to believe, but you need to have the proper people in place, and you don't need to have it on your property. You need to set it up like a full-blown camp. Don't do nobody no favors by giving them an impromptu look inside your house and in your backyard and all that. I think that could be a learning experience. So we're going to see how he comes back, though. They said having a player like Marcus Smart, having his voice, they've been looking for players like this for their locker room. So you could tell they big on improving the locker room and their approach and getting their superstar to conduct themselves in that way. But I want to know what you guys think about this in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, peace.